Citadel English Gates, a proud 1967 graduate of Lakeview High School, and the current president of the Greater Lakeview Alumni Association. Lakeview School, originally named New Brooklyn School, was established in 1925 to serve and educate African American youth of Lexington County, mainly the West Columbia area of South Carolina. African American youth who lived in the eastern corridors of Lexington County received their primary education at grade schools such as Casey Elementary, Chalk Hill, Edmonds Colored School, Oakdale School, or Long Branch. New Brooklyn School was destroyed by a wind and hailstorm in 1936, and students were taught at Double Branch African Methodist Episcopal Church, which would later become Turner Memorial African Methodist Episcopal Church. In 1937, a second structure was erected, and the name was changed to Lakeview School, reflective of the view of the horseshoe pond that the school faced. More importantly, the school then provided educational instructions to students in grades 1 through 11. Later, the 12th grade was added. Students who had received their primary education at Chalk Hill Elementary, Casey Elementary, Edmonds Colored School, Oakdale, or Long Branch transferred to Lakeview High School for their high school education. 1948 marked another structural transformation for the Lakeview School. In 1968, Lexington School District 2 officials decided that Lakeview would be converted into a middle school as part of its desegregation plan. Students who had been poised to finish their education at their beloved Lakeview would be transferred to other schools. Lakeview High School supporters petitioned that the soon-to-be converted school be renamed Lakeview Middle School in an attempt to preserve a remnant of Lakeview's illustrious academic and athletic legacy. However, Lakeview was renamed Northside Middle School. But Lakeview lives on because Lakeview has never been and will never be defined by desks, blackboards, mortar, or bricks. Lakeview is an unbreakable spirit. Lakeview is the rallying cry for service to mankind. Lakeview is a family of loving, talented, resourceful, and hardworking people. We are Lakeview.
Long before the concept of preschool was established, parents of soon-to-be Lakeview students prepared their children for the educational experience.
My name is Charles P. Earl. I was raised by my grandmother, Amanda Williams Earl. What a remarkable lady she was. She raised 7 sons, and she was a disciplinarian. In her house, she would say, if a penny would get you out of jail for stealing, then I wouldn't get you out. And another thing she did was that religion. On Sunday, you was going to church, regardless what you had to wear. No matter what you thought about it, that was the rules. Church, disciplinary. That was it. What made her so remarkable that as a young man, I would say before I started the school, in 47 it was, she, without any education at all, taught me how to tell times, how to do math, and also how to read. I can't understand it to this day how she was able to do it. But when I started the school in the 1st grade, I was able to help other children read. During those days, there was a magazine that came through the mail called Bella Hess, also the Sears catalog. And she would use those catalogs, and she would take, and she would point out, and she would say, what is this? And I would say, well, that's a 2. She said, what is the next number? I would say, well, that's a 9, that's an 8. She said, good. And these are the things that she did as far as math goes. Now, when it came to doing the part of reading, which really puzzles me to this day, and I do believe that what she was doing was using pictures that she knew, because she said, that's a cat. And I'd say, yeah, that's a cat. She said, now, what is that first letter down there? And I'd say, that's a C. I said, what is the next one? I said, well, that's an A. She said, well, what is the next one? She said, I said, that's a T. Well, she said, now, that's how you use this, put this together, and you'll be able to read. But she was one remarkable lady, she was.
A child cannot be taught by anyone who despises him, and a child cannot afford to be fooled. James Baldwin, writer and human rights activist.
Reverend James W. Shaw was Lakeview's principal during its infancy, a time when entrenched racism and ugly Jim Crow laws stood firm against the education of African Americans. In spite of outdated books and subpar buildings and supplies, Lakeview students flourished. The students flourished because Reverend Shaw and his small staff taught the priceless lessons of self-respect, self-reliance, and community service. Most importantly, Lakeview students were taught the lesson of faith, faith that nothing or no one would stop them from succeeding in life.
Reverend Dr. Miles D. Bogan was principal of Lakeview High School from 1942 through its final year of 1968. He was the leader of a cadre of teachers. He was known to be a no-nonsense kind of person. But as being leader of a cadre of teachers, those teachers demanded excellence of themselves as well as of their students. I knew him as my principal. I later worked for him as a teacher at Lakeview. I emulated him when I became principal at Northside Middle School in 1981. I believe that Prof. Bogan and those teachers were a gift from God. Why did I say that? Because even though they were paid less than their white counterparts at the time, they never gave less to the Lakeview students. And the Lakeview students and the world were richer because of their giving.
I was honored to have been a member of the football team at Lakeview. Lakeview Tigers and Lady Tigers were a collection of elite student athletes who bought into their coach's mindset. And that mindset was that anything less than a state AA championship was almost seen as a failure. A mere conference championship was accepted, but never celebrated.
Former Lakeview athlete and 1957 graduate Carl Williams worked his way into the ranks of nationally decorated high school basketball coaches. His resume includes induction into the South Carolina Athletic Hall of Fame. Two of his former players, Tyrone Carbon and Xavier McNamara, became NBA All-Stars. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own. Legendary singer Billie Holiday. Owning property affords one a degree of independence. Independence affords one a measure of freedom. As a little boy, Larry Levy drew images in the sand with a stick. Later in life, Mr. Levy would create images so profound that some of his paintings would be housed in the South Carolina General Assembly and the Vatican in Rome, Italy. Works by Mr. Levy are owned by former U.S. Presidents Jimmy Carter, superstar actor Eddie Murphy, and universal icon Oprah Winfrey. In 1994, Sheldon Starks, a 1965 Lakeview graduate, and his brother Virgil Starks, a 66 grad, became the first African-American brothers in the history of the United States Air Force to be promoted to the rank of colonel on the same day. Former Lakeview student John Allen Brown enlisted in the United States Air Force and quickly zoomed to the rank of major. Major Brown's military accomplishments were so distinguished, he was entrusted with the ultra-sensitive duty of an intercontinental ballistic missile launch master. 1966 Lakeview graduate Clifton Oliver joined the United States Marines, and his service to his country included a tour of duty in the Vietnam War. While defending his unit's position on May 16, 1968, Specialist Oliver was killed by a hostile ground attack. Under the leadership of former Lakeview student Charles B. Jackson Sr., Brooklyn Baptist Church mushroomed from a congregation of about 200 into a megachurch. But Pastor Jackson never forgot his humble beginnings, and he never forgot Lady Lakeview. He led the efforts that purchased the former school property and converted it into a community resource complex that includes the Brooklyn Lakeview Empowerment Center. Former Lakeview student Rudolph Wise overcame almost insurmountable odds and obstacles, and he became Dr. Rudolph Wise, one of this nation's most respected oncologists. To pay homage to his priceless memories of Lakeview, Dr. Wise and his wife Corliss made a tremendous, generous financial donation that funded the Lakeview School Museum.
My grandparents, Hezekiah and Joanne Corbett, attended Lakeview School, and I'm told they were bookworms. My mother, Dr. Sandra Corbett Grant, a bookworm if there ever was one, read to me when I was too young to even understand words. As you may guess, I enjoy reading as well. Reading has allowed me to be exposed to countless ideas, theories, beliefs. It has also equipped me with the ability to discern what is true, false, good or bad. Reading permits me to travel to the ends of the earth without leaving my room. I wish I could talk longer, but I'm off to Kenya, East Africa, and the trip is free. Thanks, Grandma and Grandpa.
My grandmother and grandfather are Martha and Charles Earl. I call them Mimi and Poppy. When I was little, Mimi and Poppy would tell me about the Lakeview School, and I would wonder, what would an old school like that have to do with me? As I got older, I realized the connection. The Lakeview story was about self-pride, community service, educational excellence, and love of humanity. Poppy, Mimi, and my mom told me the Lakeview story so I could become a better person, student, and citizen. I thank God that Mimi and Poppy and my mom told me the Lakeview story. Now, I represent the present, the future of the Lakeview School. It is now my responsibility to tell the Lakeview story.
We are Lakeview.